Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YOM Town Hall. Let's bring everyone up. Hello, Founders Group. How are we today?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Are we celebrating?
Should have got my YOM t-shirt on. I've just realised.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, and Jeff.
Well,
Damn.
I have
Sorry.
it underneath my YOM logo somewhere.
Somewhere.
Is this the Superman bit where you
Like
rip
that,
open your
right.
shirt and like fly through the air and do that stuff?
Yeah.
I love it, man.
It's a
Love
bit
it.
cold here in the Netherlands, so it's really good that Rowan actually went for the t-shirt, even though it's freezing at the moment. Well, it's freezing.
Yeah, I'm in the attic, and then
Yeah.
there's yeah, I'm pretty warm.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
we reclaimed 100,000 today, which also feels pretty good market-wise. Everything's looking very sharp, so we're very well timed for a really upbeat founders meeting. And again, we titled this "The Future of Gaming" because I think that we all agree what we're building here is what the gaming industry is going to need in the next the next cycle to really expand, to reach that audience that they really want to reach, to expand to places where they haven't been able to reach before with the high-end games. So that's the name of the title. That's the title of this broadcast. Really, what we're going to do is I'm going to run through real quick what we are at YOM for those people who don't understand what it is we've built. We'll give the community an update on some of the technology and things that we've shipped in the last couple of, in the last week, I guess, because it's been a lot of stuff that's come out in the last week. And then we have a whole host of questions that people from the community have brought forward to us based on what we've done here in the recent past, the bridge and the TGE, those kinds of questions. So let's get into all that. But again, now Andy, you and Yort, or one or both of you, you both went to Token 2049, and when I understand, you guys practiced your elevator pitch. Who's got the best elevator pitch? The two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
actually,
pressure.
yeah, no pressure. Right. At the event, we actually pitched for quite a crowd of people, so that was exciting. Yeah, who wants to pitch?
Okay, who wants to give the elevator pitch?
For all of the newbies, right?
We did the elevator pitch, didn't we? Actually, in the elevator, which was kind of unusual. And you're kind of.
But who did it? Didn't read the pitch.
Who did the pitch in the elevator?
No, neither of us really, to be honest. Jorrit suggested it, and I was like, "We're not pitching in an elevator." And the guy said, "What do you do?" And then we went, and actually gave a kind of a side pitch.
Yeah. You know? So YOM is basically the infrastructure of the future. It's all about the next platform, next generation of gaming. That's quite abstract language. So what does that mean? Right now, people are still playing on their PlayStation at homes or at the Xbox. And with YOM, you don't have to anymore. It's a protocol for cloud gaming, similar in a way to GeForce Now. It's similar to Google Stadia, but then built in the correct way with the right architecture. So that means that it is super low latency and also super scalable. And it's a network protocol. So rather than having a singular platform where you access all of the content, it's an open platform and everyone can embed the games anywhere. That ensures also that we don't necessarily maintain the channels. It's an open ecosystem. Anybody can just deploy, any developer can deploy the content on the network and then share an embed or a link to anywhere else. How do we do that? That's where the Web3 component comes in. So we have host computers. These are primarily retail PCs, consumer hardware that are nearby players. So players connect with the host computers and they can play the games on those host computers. They effectively borrow computing time. In return, the host computer earns about 5 cents per session. Sounds not like a lot, but with an open platform like YOM, we do expect a lot of sessions concurrently. So one good gaming PC can run about 8 or 10 sessions concurrently. And the average session time, we have already done some math on it. It's about 6 minutes, 10 minutes. And then using the law of big numbers, it averages out to about like a $500 a month, depending on your gaming machine and the size of it. So that is what we're talking about. And it's going to revolutionize gaming, but it's also going to revolutionize how mining works, because right now, if you're running a Bitcoin validator, you're probably running at a loss, or any other proof of work validator. And with YOM, you're actually mining like more than 10 times the rewards, and it's doing doing something useful for society. So that is a win-win game. So we're here to not only revolutionize gaming, but also to replace Bitcoin. Yeah, super ambitious.
You're helping society so long as you buy into the concept that entertainment and gaming is very
Yes,
important to society. But I
it
think
is.
the majority of the world is thinking that already. Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be more realistic every year. The gaming experiences with AI coming out, so that is the necessarily the going to be the future that we're all evolving towards as a society,
Andy, if you
and
want to
that's what
say
we're betting on. Good.
do you say it any differently, Andy? How do you say it if you want to try to
I was
break
a
it
lot
down?
more concise. Do you know what I mean? No, I'm joking. A lot less technical. So yeah, no, I'd say it differently, but a lot less technical, which is obviously our skill sets that match each other. I think that's the point,
Right.
isn't it?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So when I talk about it again, I think that the big thing for me coming from the gaming side of things is this makes it makes the 3D internet possible, right? We've made it so cost effective to stream 3D content through a web browser. Where, as much as I've said this before, but as much as I love my VR headset, not enough people have it, and not enough people will ever adopt it because they get motion sick or they just don't want something strapped to their head. Everyone uses a monitor, everyone uses a web browser, everyone's got the internet connection. And so where should you put the 3D internet? You should put it on a web browser, on a computer screen. That's where people are going to access it most. And the generation that's growing up, living in 3D worlds, playing 3D games, they're going to want the 3D games to come out into their other experiences online.
Right, and it needs to be instantly accessible at all times. Short game experience. It's similar to TikTok, right? So with TikTok, it's video based, but it's quick, instant access, mobile centered. So all of these things need to be applied to the gaming industry as well. Because the current gaming industry, it's still built on legacy architecture and legacy systems of 20 years ago. So I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, our guest next week and I are going to be talking about the idea of smaller gaming experiences and how powerful that is, because it's kind of his field. But we won't jump ahead to next week too much.
So, on that note as well, aren't you on a Spaces tomorrow as well about indie gaming?
You're right.
And yeah,
you're right. I am on game.
You should share that with people. That's a good one, isn't it? Those guys.
Another one talking about the gaming industry and how what we're building helps the gaming industry at large. Ron, you're the only one you never have to actually give the pitch. You're usually talking to other technology people. But which piece of the YOM puzzle do you think is the one that's most impressive to you?
Yeah, I mean, the feedback that I get from you guys, looking at competitors and all, the strongest point that we have is the DePIN network, right? The DePIN architecture. It's not easy to duplicate. It's not easy to replicate. So that is very unique about YOM, I would say. Pixel streaming in a way is quite easy. Epic has released data, but building a network, a DePIN network, it is quite significant. And then streaming low latency is the next challenge on top of it. Someone who can do it, let's say below 30 milliseconds, that's a challenge, and that can only be possible if with DePIN network at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and we have proven that, right? So we have proven that. So at the office, I mean, based in the Netherlands, so we have nodes nearby. It's around, if we look at the end latency, but also network latency, it's even under 20 milliseconds. That we can achieve. Now, if you live farther away, let's say Germany or Belgium, or even further away than that, then it's going to exceed that 25 milliseconds target that we that we consider the sweet spot.
Right.
But as we expand the network, and we'll get more and more local to every user, and that speeds it up and get more and more coverage that way.
Right.
Definitely. Right.
And of course, we're also decentralizing the revenue, right? We're allowing people to make money from their equipment at home and passive income just from owning a gaming computer that you own and love already. Now it earns you money as opposed to just sitting there when you're not using it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also one, if you read strategic papers about the future in the coming decades, okay, what are the most important assets? Then labor is not one of them anymore. It's now data and it's machines, and then specifically GPUs. Now the problem is all of those GPUs are going to be owned in the centralized model by the big companies, and we can turn that around, right? We can say, okay, the biggest asset in the next decades is indeed GPUs, but it's going to be owned by the people, and that's I think that's one of the key crypto narratives out there. Anyways.
Yeah, so powerful, the idea that we can take power back and put it in the hands of the people who have got, on the local level. Very excited by that. All right, I think we covered just about. Again, if you're interested in finding out more about YOM, I strongly encourage you follow the YouTube channel, go to the LinkedIn and follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter. It's where we probably see the most activity. Go to our website at www.yom.net. We've got, beyond just the explanation of what we do, we've got a couple of games live. Depending on where you are in the world, you'll be able to play those. This is Unreal games pumped through our network to our website in the promise that we've always said this is what we can do. And as you said at the beginning, it's open-ended. This means that people don't have to go through a platform or pay any kind of subscription fee to play the games. It's all about bringing those barriers down and getting people into the game as fast as possible. And then however the game wants to monetize or hold on to their fans, whether it's they play a demo of the game on the website that shoots them over to the download site, or they monetize as a free-to-play game does by selling items inside the game. All those things are now, it's a choice of the game developer. It's not something that we're putting on them. And, of course, the game developer is not having to pay the price of having their stuff on a Steam or in an app store, which is, some of those are so predatory, the app stores. They take so much of the profit away from these game developers. We're putting that back in the pockets of the game developers by giving them a very inexpensive way to stream their games to any player who's got internet access, not just the ones with the gaming rigs. All right. Any last bits before I jump into the updates for the
just
community?
one thing I want to say, actually, which I just realized that we make an assumption that people realize this, but we've been going for, in the business that it is for 5 years. This is not vaporware. We had an interesting conversation with one of the big crypto kind of influencer businesses, and they were like, one of the things they love about us is the fact that we are finished. We've got further development and scaling to do, but the technology is built to run end to end. So it's kind of, instead of being a little bit, we're going to sell a dream and a story and then off we go and we can't do it, which happens with a lot of crypto projects.
It's already there.
Tech first,
it's already there.
And now we're going to.
And even better or even worse, depends on how you perceive it. When we pitch the idea, then people are like, okay, can't believe it. It's probably fake.
True.
Then we show them, and it's like, no, it works. It's here. It's already built. The testnet is out there. And then people are like, yeah, but why are people not talking about it? Okay, yeah, but that's because people talk about the wrong things, right? It's all in the ground. Everybody who's watching is an insider to this now. So you could in a couple of years or a couple of months' time, it can really go quickly, very fast. You could basically say to your friends, "Hey, I was one of the first ones monitoring the project. I was there. I bought a note. I was at least subscribed to the whitelist." Right. So all of these things you could say in the future.
I want to clue back into something really quick that Ron said, and I meant to go back to it. But Ron is right to say that not only is it hard to do what we're doing, the pixel streaming part being the easy part, but the decentralizing being the hard part. We don't see anybody else even attempting to do it. The other DePINs for gaming, right? They're decentralizing the orchestrator layer.
Well, not even the orchestrator. It's literally doing nothing. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. We don't want to call out names, but I'm the guy.
But we know why, though, don't we? It's because effectively they're owned by the data centers they're getting the data from.
Yeah, it's
an
perfect. Insider job. It's
perfect.
Well, but it's also pains the heart, so to say, that so many people, and we're talking about millions of dollars invested and capital allocated into the wrong projects. So that's going to come out either sooner or later, but at some point that will indeed collapse, and then reality kicks in.
Yeah, it's going to be painful for some people.
Going to be painful for some people.
Their loss should be our gain. I mean, we should, and we are actually, without saying any names again, quietly, we seem to be drinking somebody's milkshake every day, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nice analogy.
All right, so let's get into some updates for the community and kind of get everybody caught up, because there are some things that have happened that were asked for, and we went right to work on doing them real quick. So the first piece is we've updated the docs.yom.net website to include a whole section on the node. It's really called the Node Owner's Manual, but this has all the details about owning a node. There's still some things to add as we add NAS partners. Node as a service partners will be updating those sections. But this is a really large overview about if you own a node or if you want to own a node, even including the link to the checker, the node inspector program that the tech team came up with. It kind of gives you a sense of, can my computer run a node? Is my region a good place to run a node? But all that information now is on the docs.yom.net site, along with all the technical documents, along with the SDK. If you are an Unreal developer and you want to play around with it, the SDK is available already. And of course, our white paper is there as well.
Right.
So that's the first thing.
Just on that point as well, did you know that it's called it's a YOM nom, by the way? So it's the Node Owner's Manual, which is NOM.
Oh, yeah, I like
YOM
it.
nom.
Oh, okay.
I just spotted that. I thought that's brilliant, and it's not even thought through. So.
But shouldn't we? I was just checking out because I didn't even look at this, right? So I just went to the docs, and it says Node Operates Manual. Shouldn't we want to replace it with the Getting Started? It's the section right underneath YOM versus Aether.
We probably could. If you want to move it up higher in the list, we can do that.
I mean, let's push it up to the front. But other than that, it looks good.
The next piece that we want to come over is there was a request to say all these people who have bridged their tokens. So if you're not familiar with our project, here we launched the token a while back on the Solana chain, but over time we partnered up with Peak, who is they're a DePIN, they're a blockchain layer 1 for DePIN projects, and we found it to be a very powerful partnership. So we bridged our tokens, and we opened up a bridge for 90 days. Let anyone who had tokens bridge their tokens over, but there was no way to check and see how many they bridged over. Once it was gone, it was out of their wallet, and people started to be like, "Wait, we want to be able to see it." So you know what? I don't have the link open. Rohan, the name of the link.
Yeah, it's yom.net/bridge transactions.
Okay, and we'll post that into the description of this video. But if you want to see your bridged tokens and track them using your Solana wallet that you bridged from, connect that wallet, and this will find your transaction and show you where your tokens were and what you vested for, all those things. But it's got a check on it so that you can't just plug in anybody's wallet. You have to have your wallet attached.
Right.
Anything else I missed?
And this was one of the feedbacks that we got from the community. So it was a good point, and then we thought it was important to implement, and then people can view how many tokens that they bridge or what was the data around it.
Yeah, and if you hook up the receiving EVM wallet like I did, you'll get a nice little warning that says, no, you dummy, put it in the Solana wallet, not the EVM wallet.
True.
It doesn't say dummy because Patrick's not that mean, but anyways, the tech team again did a great job on this app. It's super nice to have, and it gives some people peace of mind, right?
Yeah. True.
Okay, let's talk about some upcoming travel because these guys just got back from, and we're going to go into it, the Token 2049. But coming up, I'm going to be heading to Orlando at the beginning of June, first week of June for Unreal Fest, and already setting up meetings with a couple of different partners that we have and some other friends to meet up down there in June. DevCon Brighton is in July, and I think Andy and you or just you?
I think it might just be me actually for that one.
Okay.
But that's all game developers. So it's like 5,000, which is a relatively small number, but all game studios.
Right. Gamescom is in August. That's in Cologne, right? Germany. And that's more than just you. Am I not right?
That's the two of us. Yeah. So myself and Jorrit, which will be fun.
Yep. And then Singapore. Have we talked about Singapore yet?
No, we haven't. But also, I think you missed out on the Dutch Blockchain Week.
I did. You're right.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's the first one upcoming, and we have a booth there as well.
That's
so
right.
If you want to meet me and Rowan in person, then head up to our booth, and then there may be even some unique merchandise there. So
maybe hats are quite cool, by the way. Hopefully, some of the hats.
Yeah. So
I would say overall, if you see somebody in a YOM shirt or YOM hat, stop and talk to them because there's lots to talk about. And generally, I think it's only our team that's got the. I don't think we've got some fans who have got some, but I think generally it's just us.
Well, that's a good story actually. So I was at the event indeed with Andy in Dubai, and then at some point I gave my cap away to somebody who said, "Yeah, I'd like to have the cap as a merch. I'll take it home for the community there." So I was like, "Okay, here's my cap." So then,
Wow.
unfortunately, it was on the first day. So the remaining days had no more caps left. But he had the opportunity.
All right. So there's one guy out there with a ball cap that you can talk to who won't know as much about YOM as the rest of us
Right.
do. But
And then I found that they were handing out orange caps at the event. So I was wearing the rest of the event. I was wearing an orange cap, which suits also the Dutch heritage.
Nice.
It's true. Bitcoin is Dutch orange, isn't it?
Yeah, just like Trump.
Yeah.
So
how appropriate.
Anyway.
All right, so tell us about because we've done a very small sync up on Token 2049. But Andy, what were your big takeaways from and then we'll jump to Europe. What were your big takeaways from Token 2049?
Well, I mean, look, for a start, it was intense. I mean, if anyone thinks that, I think actually, sorry, let me put it differently, right? Some people, I think, go to these events and they do it as a way of getting free drinks and free food and stuff like that. Generally, Jorah and I, we hammered the place. I mean, it was literally, I think we were up at I was up at 7, and then we were literally working, and then literally into the conferences. There was days where we didn't eat till 5, 6 p.m. anyway.
Honestly, on most days we didn't even eat. There was no lunch and no dinner, and we just had the snacks at the events, and then it was 1 o'clock
2 a.m. finishes, wasn't it?
Or 2 a.m. And then the next day, Andy was up at 7, going out for a jog. I stayed in bed till 9.
I didn't jog very far, by the way. It was quite hot. But no, I think it was really good. I mean, I made a few notes just on numbers, which should give people a bit of context around what we were doing. Hold on, let me just drag up the. I've lost it. 1 second. Here it is. So 90 contacts made, 3 major chains. We ended up going to IMX's golf. They had a golf event that they invited us to. We spoke to the whole team, like everybody. 8 events, individual side events in 3 days, which is madness. It was like one to the next, to the next, to the next main event. 1 yacht party, which was a DePIN yacht party. We met some great influencers and some really interesting people who we can work with. 10 game studios and 15 investors. I mean, if you think about that over what effectively is 3 days, really, or 3.5 days, it was pretty intense. And I was saying, we had a good time doing it because you have a good time when you're having success, don't you? But it was kind of really, it was good to see. It was good to see so many people. I think we did some good pitches. So that would be my take on it. I think the interesting bit, and I'm not sure what your thoughts were on this, Jorah, about money, and sort of cash. It didn't feel like there was, oodles of cash running around the crypto space.
Definitely not.
Dubai felt like there was. But go on.
Yeah, I think honestly at this point, the crypto market. So if you look at the numbers, right? So the entire altcoin market, it fits 20 times in the valuation of Apple, right? So Apple is a single company, and it's 20 times bigger than the entire altcoin market, including Solana, Ethereum, and all of the 10,000 projects that are building. So it's extremely early. It's extremely undervalued now, and people think, oh well, it's going to go lower and lower. Well, it cannot. At some point, it cannot. There are a lot of projects, and people know me also as a guy who's a little bit skeptical about the space with all of the memes going on. And yeah, obviously that's the case. But there are also a lot of great projects that are building value, right? And these are typically at this point super undervalued. Also, if we relate that to our equity valuation, we can see the difference, right? So it used to be that typically the token valuation is about a 2-to-1 ratio, right? So the token valuation, the market cap is about 2 times as big as the equity. It's not always going to be the case. It's really dependent on a lot of factors. But right now, that's not the case. It's almost like the inverse, what we're seeing in the market. And that's, I think, a very good sign on that there's a lot of good opportunities at the moment to invest into the market.
So
it sort of felt as well that people were waiting a little bit. I mean, obviously, as Jeff said, we've hit 100,000 for Bitcoin. People have been waiting. They're going to start getting liquidity out, and I mean, I'm an optimist, as you know, but it does feel like we're on that precipice of going over the edge and then up, and the right timing for us and also for everyone who's ready.
Yeah, and Bitcoin isn't even so. Bitcoin takes about, what is it, 64% of the entire market. And it's a useless chain. It's completely useless. It's a meme. And people still buy it because they don't trust any projects that are building value, right? And that is just insane to me. Yeah.
They're buying it also because they don't trust fiat currency any longer. That
Yeah, sure.
is
But
dumb.
then you buy Bitcoin because it just has the name, right?
Well,
and
I mean that's where the name is important, and first one in does seem to have some advantages.
Yeah.
But building it right will ultimately win the day. I think that's what we always have said.
Right.
All right. Ron, any questions to these guys about token that I didn't ask? Because you and I stayed back here. We were the men in the chair. Like we stayed home and tried to get some work done with these guys not there. But anything that about what went on that you didn't get a chance to ask these guys yet that we should say in front of the community?
Maybe like how was the food there?
What food? We had like 4 prawns a day, and I think that was it.
And no rain this time around.
No floodings, no biblical events, no Armageddon. So yeah, that was good.
Oh, that's good.
All right. So we have a whole stack of community questions. There's about 14 of them as when we went through and found the duplicates and kind of pared them down, and they basically fall into 4 different areas. So why don't we just jump into these questions? They kind of came into the node earnings because we just had our node sale and people wanted to ask questions about that. The technology section, there was a lot of questions about where our technology is going and what progress we've made. Marketing and partnerships, that was another section, and then TGE was the final group of questions. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to ask and then answer the first questions myself. It's about the nodes, right? So the question was, are all the nodes going to be paid off in YOM? And this person's contention is that would be bad. Or will the rewards be paid in stable? And I think that they're misunderstanding why, yes, paid in YOM tokens, and why this is a good thing, right? So again, we have a cap supply of YOM tokens that we mint, and as we pay node owners for the games that stream through their node, we also burn 5% of what we're paying out. So we're consistently draining the amount of YOM in circulation on top of the YOMs that are being held by people who have these nodes, because the more that you hold, it actually helps you send more work your way, the more you hold into your same wallet. So the whole system is deflationary. So earning YOM and holding on to it is actually a good thing, because that's going to go up faster than if you just gave you the USDT. Now you can exchange it anytime you want to, but the more that you hold, the actual more you're being rewarded for being a holder. You got your head.
No. You're perfectly. I mean, I think people got used to tokens that are just inflationary, defeating the point of Bitcoin in the first place. Because the nice thing about Bitcoin, it's not inflationary, right? And YOM has the same mentality. In fact, we're amplifying that, right, with the 5% burn. Most DePINs in the space are inflationary. That means that most rewards come from an increase either in new tokens that are getting minted or drainage from an existing allocation. So that means that the amount of tokens in the circulation, so the tokens that are actually switching hands, just increases and increases and increases, reducing the value of each YOM. Now of each token. Now with YOM, it's exactly the inverse. So the more the network gets used, the less tokens are in circulation.
Right.
And that is just completely insane. And that is what we're doing completely unique from most other DePINs. I would not say all DePINs, but most other DePINs have an inflationary model. They also focus, and the way for you guys to look out for these is you have some DePINs that that focus on the demand side of things. You have other DePINs that focus on the supply. We as YOM, we focus on the demand side, but obviously that needs to be in equilibrium with the supply of nodes. Now, with other DePINs, you see them only focusing on the supply of nodes. That means all of the language on the website is node oriented. They don't have a product to sell or external buy-in from a service or clients, so to say. So you want to keep an eye on that. If they do have that external value pouring in, then they likely also have a deflationary token system. So that's how you can check.
Yeah. And I have seen some projects that do that are set up the same way as we're set up, but again, they're not a lot of them. They're few and far between. But it does feel like validation that what we're doing, what they're saying, seems to be the same thing. But I think again, we've got a bigger marketplace because gaming, we say over and over again, it's the biggest form of entertainment, the most revenue generating form of entertainment by far, crushes everything else. The next question was, when will my nodes start earning? This would be pertaining to, I think, the delegated nodes. And again, we have to go through. So the reason we discounted it at such a steep discount for this first collection, that's basically a little more than half off, was because they have to hold for a little while we get the partnership set up with the nodes as service providers. So the expectation is that these nodes will start earning in Q3 after we do the TGE, after we do the mainnet launch. At that point, we'll have the setups for people to go ahead and start earning with their nodes. And again, it's important to us because actually it leads into the next question, which was why don't we buy 1,000 nodes ourselves and just have ourselves, if they're so profitable, why don't we own them all? But again, part of the whole reason for the network is to get them out in as many regions as possible. If we own the nodes, then we also have to buy a machine and a location to put the machine and internet connection to that machine all around the world, which is the whole point of this, is to get other people to do that part of it, and again, decentralize the revenue, pay people to be involved in hosting the network. Anything to add, anybody?
I was just going to say it's the Uber model. Yeah. Uber could buy all the taxis themselves and put people in it and make more money, but that's not how you build a SaaS model, is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Jort, I'm going to throw this one to you. But if the nodes aren't earning more than the NAS cost, what happens then?
Yeah, so I would say that question is really dependent on dynamics in the phase of the network. I'd say definitely in the beginning, with a NAS, you would be earning like a lot of margins, and that's because new projects deployed on the infrastructure, they could be deployed in very specific regions, right? The advantage of a NAS provider is to provide yield in very specific regions, so they can move around instances to optimize for rewards. Now the question is, if they are not earning, right. So we do have a minimum payout. So the minimum payout is there to already satisfy the cost related to it. It could be the case that a NAS provider charges you more than what they provide in yield. It's a laissez-faire game in the end. We just integrate with as many NAS providers as possible, and it's up to them to determine the pricing to the end user. So our NAS providers are also incentivized to ensure that they have nodes available in high demand regions and pay out as many tokens as possible to their users at the lowest possible price, because they will want to compete with other NAS providers. That's why we're opening up also the model towards a lot of different NAS providers. It won't be a single one. It could be that as a start, that we start to work together with a single NAS provider. But the end game will be that all of these GPU providers and cloud platforms will be competing for users who pay them. And that will already fix the pricing and ensure that there's always a competitive advantage to be held.
Yep, very good. All right, and then what? Jort, same back to you again. What's the risk of running a node?
Yeah. So you mean running a node yourself at home?
It doesn't say in the
node?
question, but I think that you just talked now about the risk that the NAS is
Right.
not is taking too much.
So there are two parts to that, right? So if you're running yourself, there is the fewest risks involved because you don't pay a monthly fee. The only thing that you pay is about a 17% in proportional electricity cost. That means that if you make a lot of money, your electricity bill will also go up. If you don't make a lot of money, then your electricity bill will be low. It's about 17% of whatever you're making. So it scales proportionally. So the risk is always minimal. If you're opting for a cloud service, then you do pay a fixed amount on a monthly basis, right? So there is some risk involved if you opt for that. So it really depends on the method you're using. I would say if you go host yourself, then there's very little risk involved. And there will be indeed a point. The question is, okay, what's the point that I will be running break even? Now that question depends on your location, because it depends on demand. It depends on your electricity bill. It depends on how much you invested in the hardware, how optimized your hardware is for cloud gaming, and
How much time
compared
you
to
can
these.
Yeah,
how much time you can let it
Right.
run as a node, right?
All of
key
these
uptime, those kind of
things
things.
will
Yeah.
will matter, and your reputation on network, etc., etc. So, but we've already defined a lot of the variables, and we put that out there in the docs, so people can look into them and see, okay, which setup is appropriate for me. We do recommend noobs to start out with NAS providers, because that's the easiest way to get started. And when
Right.
you get excited by the rewards and excited by the projects, you want to be deeper involved, and you have a gaming machine at home, then it's an easy bridge for you to go into hosting on the network as well. And the nice thing is that we're very much building for existing gaming PCs, whereas other mining setups, they do have some overlap with gaming PCs in the sense that they require GPU, but the demand is very different. So it's way more similar to a data center running on a centralized server that's handling a lot of batch requests, so validation transactions, whereas our infrastructure is optimized towards gaming rigs that are already running in people's houses. That means the better your gaming rig, the more money you will be making. So the best gamers out there with the most expensive gaming rigs, so please share the screenshots also, they will be making the most money.
I do have to send you an image of the one that my boy just built, because it's pretty sweet looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just very cool, because then if you are not using it, you can use it to make money, and if you are using it, you play the best possible games out there on the highest native quality. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to add something to that too. Crap, what was it? Oh yeah, then there's of course these licenses are tradable too. So if you find yourself in a region that hasn't given you what you think it's going to be, you're welcome to sell that on the open market, and sell it to somebody who is going to have a better chance to earn from it.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're going to jump into the technology section, Ron. So you had a break up until this point, but now I'm going to start grilling you. You ready for these?
Yeah,
So,
bring it
how
on.
exactly is the team planning to optimize the network in the long term to ensure new users around the world consistently experience excellent latency? Or I think what they mean is very low latency.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good question. So last quarter was very exciting, like launching the testnet. So after the launch, the thinking has been to collect as much data as possible, right? So there are two fronts into it. So we need to collect as much data as possible from the node, right? So what kind of GPU it is, what is the usage of the GPU, what is the network strength, what is the internet speed, and then we also need to analyze the game which we are running. So we try to deploy one game at a time. So we deployed the value of the insurance and then the MVR. Then we internally tested a couple of other games as well. So so the after the launch of the test net, it is more about collecting as much as data as possible. So first step is to data collection. The second step is analyzing the data, and then the third step is acting on the data, right? So we are now going to analyze all the data. So as part of data collection, it also involves collecting session data as well. So after a player plays the game, we collect a lot of data, like what was the QP, what was the encoding time, what was the latency, uh, what was the FPS as well. So all this data we have per session, and then we are now at the moment in a way analyzing that, and then based on that we are building a benchmark kind of a score for the game as well as for the node. So based on that, we can now come up with an updated algorithm that okay, a new player is connecting now, which is the nearest location plus what is the score of that node and what game does the player wants to play, and depending on that we connect it to the nearest one, and the best possible with lowest latency. So these are the steps that we are taking at this moment to optimize the node, the game, as well as the network, and provide low latency.
This might also be a good time to throw in that we're starting the campaign to bring in a second wave of alpha testers. So we're working with some communities and getting announcements. Expect the announcement to go out on Monday about wave 2. If you're interested in being involved in the alpha test network, we'll have the steps and everything posted next week.
Yeah.
All right. So Ron, what does the team think the network will advance? Let's say, when does the team think the network will be advanced enough to automatically allow new games and experiences to onboard themselves, right, on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, to answer it in a way straight, so we think that end of this quarter, we think that we would be able to, onboard games. Why I say that is what we are doing at this moment. We can scale the games at this point as well. So right now we are hosting 2 games, but we can also host more. But we got a lot of feedback from our node operators that the games are continuously running, and then which occupies or uses a lot of electricity. So what we are working on at this moment is that we do container scaling, which means we don't run the game 24/7. As and when the player wants to connect, we boot up the game on a node and then stream the game from that node. So what does this mean is that the games, like many games, can be downloaded on a single host on a single machine, and you can boot up the game which the player wants to play. So which means I can download 10 games on a host, and then it can play, depending on the GPU, it can play 2 instances, 3 instances, or 4 instances of the game. So once we achieve this container scaling, uh, onboarding games would be in a way a piece of cake. I think starting next quarter.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you wanted to add something, Jord, or?
No, I mean that's indeed the reality of things, and yeah, I think like the biggest part right now. So if we look at the roadmap, it's the container scaling, right? So it's vertical scaling. That means also with the testers. Right now, all of the games are concurrently running on their tester nodes. That means that they're consistently using a lot of GPU power. That means very instant access to the games. Um, but we want to optimize that to also ensure that for the like lower electricity bill and all of that. So that's also an important ticket for.
I'm
for
going
the
to take
coming
this
months.
next. I'm going to take this next one, Ron, so you don't have to. But when will the first games get launched? All right. So if you are depending on what region you're in, we've got 2 games already that are live and launched. These are sample games. If you go to our website, you can play the Roughneck Rumble from the MBR partners that we have, and Valley of the Ancients. And again, these are the ones that we've got up there to help us get the data that Ron was just talking about. We've had a couple of really exciting projects in the last couple of weeks who have said that our testnet. So the question becomes, since we're still in testnet, do these larger gaming projects want to be on a limited testnet? And sometimes they say yes, most times they say no. But we've had a couple of projects here recently who have gotten very excited about the idea of being on testnet because their games are still in development as well. So the idea of being on our testnet and allowing the small network to prove out some pieces of their design and their community to like a test event where they can just have their community jump in for one night. This is appealing to them for because of the way that they're building their content. So that should be. So I don't have an answer of date. I'm not. I think most everybody in our community knows I'm the one who's the least likely to give you a date because I don't like being wrong, which is my wife will tell you I hate being wrong. Fortunately, it doesn't happen so much at home, but at work, it certainly does bother me. So I don't like to overpromise and then underdeliver. I'd rather do it the other way around. Right.
Yeah, and also if you look at the nature of the network, right? So it has to go hand in hand. That means that in the beginning we cannot support the player base of Grand Theft Auto 6. For example, if we would deploy Grand Theft Auto 6 on the network, then first of all, that's not possible because they're not running Unreal Engine. Oblivion would actually be possible, the remastered version of Oblivion.
Nice.
But then even if we did that, we would need just for that single game so many nodes across the world to support that. That would be unfeasible at this moment. So our strategy is like cascading up the pyramid. So that means that we start out with onboarding the fast moving studios first. So those that really want to deploy their game, that are fast moving, that can deploy it in a responsive way on the network, to also showcase to the bigger studios, okay, this is all possible, right? So our goal is to have as many games deployed on the network as possible, but they won't be AAA quality games. They will be from smaller studios. But indeed, the moment we do have 50 games deployed on the network, then the bigger ones will want to get in. Fundamentally,
and again, yeah, and I go back to the report that I did the special broadcast on, the report from Matthew Ball. He talks about this next cycle is going to be a great cycle for the independent game developers, even down to the solo developers, because the tools are right there for them to make a game really easily. The marketplace is there for them to buy assets. They can buy a complete animation set. And we've got friends of ours who are, Andy, your friend is building a game pretty much by himself, and it looks amazing. But up till now, his ways to deploy a game like this are extremely limited. Once we get up and running and people can go ahead and deploy themselves their own little passion projects, I think you're going to see a lot more diversity in games and game styles. You're going to see a lot more creativity come out. People are going to come up with really cool puzzle games inside of Unreal that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to monetize, but on a network like ours, they can. Andy, you want to? I mentioned your buddy, so I don't know if you want to jump in on that.
No. I mean, I was going to add to it and say, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I think the creator, or UGC, is going to be, or UCG, user created. User created content. Yeah. So basically, it's going to user generate. That's it. God, I'm having problems today. Still recovering from Dubai, but Joris a lot younger than me. He managed to keep going. But look, yeah, I think that's exactly where it's going to be. I think when we look at some of the games that are coming out and how they're getting built and how quickly they're getting built, it does feel like there's going to be thousands of new games in Unreal. I mean, we were
all about agility, right? Agility is everything. The moment the cost of labor goes down to zero because of AI, it's all about speed of decision making. And that's what the smaller companies or the individuals have, right? They have the creativity, they have the speed and decision making. So they will be running the games in a couple of, and I would say in 10 years will be all indie game devs.
Yeah, I think the smart big studios are going to figure out, well, we should break our large teams into 20 small teams and give them all the creative control they want.
Agility, exactly.
Unleash them. And we've talked to some big studios who are already thinking in that direction. So we're not the only ones saying it. We're not saying it self-servingly because that's what our network is really good for. There are others who see that same avenue for the future of gaming.
So is this is kind of like a shout out to Triumph Games?
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah. Did we already announce a partnership with them?
No, we have not a formal announcement. They're still looking at the proposal, but
perfect.
This should help get them on board.
Got it.
But there is a question. I think I have it for Europe. I'm not sure who wants to answer. How many games can we run in total on the network?
I mean, in the end, infinite. And the reason is because our network, so you're looking at the disks primarily, right? So the disks are preloaded with 2 terabytes in capacity. But that's the edge network. That means that all of the games that are in high demand are rotated and cached across the edge network. The total capacity of the network, that's the game library, and it can be petabytes of data, completely filled with games, like thousands of games to be deployed there. That's in de facto infinite, so to say. So there are literally no limitations on that side. I would say the biggest limiting factors, if you want to talk about the constraints of the network, that would be the ACU, the average concurrent players or the average concurrent users. So that's the KPI that you want to monitor. Now, how big is the ACU currently? It's very low because the network is also pretty tiny. But it's big enough to be able to handle all of the requests coming in from lots of places across the world with ease. So hardly we report any queues. At the moment, we do report them in some periods when, for some reason, multiple people are joining in, but it hardly ever occurs. And I would say it's also a luxury thing, right? So the moment that players get added to the queue, then first of all, the waiting time is not too long, but it also means that the nodes are paid for in 100% capacity, right? At that moment. So that means that nodes are making a shit ton of money at that moment. So keep that in mind. So the moment that the network is overloaded, that's why raiding parties are going to be really fun. People raiding the network, playing the games, and then making money in the process. So,
and again, it burns more tokens the more action we get, which means again that each token you own is now worth more.
So if you're a token owner or if you're a node holder, you have the same incentive. Just spam the network with as many of your friends as possible, and you would be making more money, and the token would be more scarce.
And the game developers they're also added to that incentive pool because they want to get as much traction on their game as possible.
Right. Yeah. So we are slowly onboarding the whole world into gaming. Yay, exciting times.
Aligning incentives, exactly right. All right. We'll jump out of technology, move into marketing and partnerships. And Andy, the first one is for you.
Good stuff.
Will it be a launchpad style initiatives to roll out a large number of nodes with the goal of onboarding new users and activating new communities?
Yeah, I mean, there's two bits here. So first of all, we are doing activation of communities, including gaming guilds and big kind of gaming communities, whether it's companies like Sura that we're talking to in South America or Triumph Games, etc. Obviously in the UK. So we're doing that micro kind of transactions, which is how we will roll the nodes out and also onboard community members and onboard communities. So there's a knock-on effect, which again you guys have just spoke about there, which is the people that run the nodes will also play the games, who will then share it on social, which becomes this kind of circle that just keeps building. Now, the reason I'm saying that rather than going straight into that is because that's how we'll build the network at the right speed. Yeah, we don't want to go out and do massive launchpad style 10,000 node sales and then work out the people are sitting there going, well, why is my node not activated?
Yeah,
the supply and demand is really how this model will work. Yeah, and that's why it's sustainable. So that's the first bit. The second bit, though, in answer to the question is yes, we will. When we get the network effect going, I mean, we're already in conversations with 3, I think, out of the 4 largest launch pads out there, and then we've got conversations with massive game studios. We were talking to an animation studio this morning as well, who've got 1,600 PCs. They're like, great. There's esports cafes. There's tons of opportunity to build out. I mean, all you got to do is think about it. There are 3.3 billion gamers out there, and there's 1.4 billion gaming PCs. Now that is insane. Even if we got 1% of that, 1.4 billion, that's 14 million PCs. That's enough to run a lot of games. So there you go. Answer the question. Yes.
You wanted to jump in on that one.
Yeah, obviously I wanted to jump in, but I think Andy handled it.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
All right. Well, the next one is also the review, Andy, but we have very little social media engagement. Is there a plan to increase traction? If yes, what? It's a little pointed question, but I'll let you take that.
It's a fair question. And I think I'm going to go back to what Joris said earlier. We discussed we were on a conversation with Banter, so Crypto Banter earlier today. And the conversation is, you can do it in 2 different ways. You can do lots of hype, lots of vaporware. This happens a lot with Web3 gaming. They go out there saying, we're going to do a AAA game and we're going to do it in a year. Now, AAA game studios can't do a AAA game in a year. So how on earth do people expect that to happen? It's just impossible. Now, rather than going out and claiming to do all these great things, bring loads of money in and then have lots of disappointed people, we've done it the other way around, which is building the technology, making sure everything works, making sure that the DePIN network works, making sure that the SDK, it is not difficult for people to use. It's a copy and paste SDK rather than complex GitHub stuff. And I think that is now done. So we are now in conversations with really big KOLs, really big marketing agencies, marketing partners who are going to basically help us roll out the kind of social media engagement. But there was no point doing it before today. So, and again, I'd even go a little bit further and say there's no point doing it before we're ready to do the TGE. This is about right time, right place, and also right market. You know, we started today with a Bitcoin 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Jort?
No, I think vaporware is indeed the keyword here. I mean, a lot of the crypto community has been built on vaporware. And I think that also ties in with all of those massive. So the go-to-market, our go-to-market, as Andy said perfectly, it's very different. It's bottom up, and we match supply with demand, and it's pragmatic, it's result-oriented, it's hyper-targeted, as opposed to these erratic node sale launches that do not make sense anymore at all, because then you get a massive supply of nodes in a peak amount on the network. You don't have the demand to cover it. And then the second bit is that all of those, so if you look at other node projects, they have this steering system. So the nodes get more expensive the more you buy. So how do you even think about scaling the network if the nodes get more expensive, right?
For the life of me, I can't understand who came up with that plan and why they thought it was a
Well,
smart thing to do, except for just
so
raking up a bunch of cash.
so that ties again indeed into just being acting out as farming pools, and then wrapped up as a legal vehicle for staking, so they could provide a legal staking vehicle without calling it staking, right? So it's not considered a token investment, but it's like proof of work. But the work is so lightweight that the large remainder of the tokens that people would be receiving is just effectively staking. It's just the more you buy, the bigger the nodes you purchase, the more token rewards you get. Because it is true that the more expensive nodes in higher tier provide more rewards. And that's because it's a staking pool.
It's interesting. I know that Jort's language in this answer is a lot tamer online when he's offline. Offline, it's much more of a diatribe with a lot more pointed words, and that's fun to listen to too. So maybe catch him sometime at the booth in Amsterdam and ask him how he really feels, and then he can fire off on you.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe don't ask about Bitcoin to him. Like he already
Yeah,
had
because
a
a lot of
strong
people
viewpoint.
feel very I feel very negative about Bitcoin, but a lot of Bitcoin maxis somehow think that Bitcoin is okay. And I don't see why Bitcoin is okay. But let's not go towards that side.
All right, the next one, I'm going to actually throw this one at you. But why is YOM on peak, and why? And then another person asks, why are we still on peak, and why aren't we migrating or moving to say or SWI, or what was the decision for peak based on?
Right. So first of all, a blockchain is a database, right? It doesn't fucking matter whether you're on SQL or on MongoDB or anything else. Right? Well, it matters from a technical point of view. So we audited all of the databases out there, and Peak is considered a database. And we thought, okay, Peak is a very nice database. It's scalable. It's not congested with a lot of spam or meme coins. That's what people call spam nowadays. So that's why we decided to go for the Peak network, right? Now, a lot of people want to have the token because they want to make money on the trading. And we understand that perspective because fundamentally the token is a resource and we like liquidity around our assets, around our resource, because it's valuable and we want global access to it. So the token, and we also explained that in other Medium articles, is blockchain agnostic. It doesn't matter where the product is being built because the token can literally trade in the biggest liquidity pools out there. So we can easily migrate to Sui, to Sei, to Aptos, to Diamanti, to Solana. Well, I don't think we'll be moving back to Solana anytime soon at this point. But all of these liquidity pools can be accessed and created. There is no, it's a little bit of old school thinking in believing that somehow the token is tied to a particular protocol. Because with layer 0 and all of these bridging protocols coming up that are way better than the more traditional, let's say, wrapped wormhole kind of solutions, tokens can literally be chain agnostic. And because they're chain agnostic, that means that the tokens, like YOM, are fundamentally worth more than the underlying blockchain protocol. The blockchains will just turn into databases, and the best one at that particular moment in time will attract the most projects. but that will quickly shift. We're already seeing that, right? So Solana is getting outcompeted by Sei, by Aptos, by Sui, and in the next bull run it will be. So right now you have Mega ETH, you have um, so many other blockchains that are right now on 10 milliseconds, right? Imagine that. That's already a factor 50 faster than most blockchains out there, and they're already being built. So the people who are now or about Aptos or about Sui don't see the bigger picture because they're focusing on the database. And rather than the database, you should be focusing on where value is created, where money is being amassed. And that's in machines, right? And that's in which machine provides the most utility. And that's the end game that we're following.
Yeah, and if you go back and listen to our town hall with Leo from Peak, you see how many projects they're launching. So if yours what he says is correct, and it's not the layer 1, but the layer 2s on the layer 1 that have all the value, and you look at the stack of the ones that Peak have added to their in their layer 2 pool, it's quite an impressive amount of projects.
Yeah,
so.
Look at, for example, at Spinor, right? Spinorprotocol.com. It's a new upcoming chain. It's less than 30 milliseconds. That's faster. The latency is between 1 and 10 milliseconds execution time. That's faster than most databases. That completely changes everything. There's no point in going for Solana that takes 0.4 seconds when you have a Spinor protocol that's doing it in 5 milliseconds, right?
I remember that being a big thing too. In the early days of Web3 gaming, we oftentimes said, "Well, you can't use, you don't want to do too many transactions on the blockchain. It's too slow. You should not treat it like a database because it's too slow." But that sounds like Spinor is addressing that and going to change that.
And fundamentally, what people because people don't like change, right? So that's why you do have old school blockchains still being in the top 100. So you have Ethereum still being there. You have lots of chains doing that. But that's I would say tribalism. First of all, there's a lot of tribalism between blockchains. People just sticking and holding their tokens until the end of times. First of all, and
diamond hands.
Yeah, and the second, it's about the wallets, right? So Ethereum and a lot of the protocols are high up because fundamentally people use MetaMask. Now with Solana, they use a Phantom wallet. Now that's where the real adoption and user base sits, right? Solana is successful not because Solana, the protocol is fast, but because the wallet is very powerful, right? So I think that is also something to look into if you want to see, okay, where users are migrating towards. It's more like the UX rather than the.
So we went through. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, the other aspect is from the studio's point of view, right? So it doesn't mean that we are completely stick to Peak or YOM tokens. We are going to integrate with many of the blockchains so that we can support in-game transactions as well, right? So for example, Diamante, we have partnered with Diamante so that we can support in-game Diamante transactions as well. So any game which is using Diamante token and hosted on YOM, we should be able to support that chain as well. So just to clarify on that, so there's one aspect on the nodes side and then the other aspect on the studio side that we are going to support as many chains as possible.
Yeah, no, that's a very good addition, Rowan, because that's why we do a lot of partnerships indeed, also with Diamante. And then the question people may have is, okay, yeah, first of all, what is Diamante? Why is YOM moving potentially to Diamante? We're not moving to Diamante, we're integrating and partnering with them. Right, so we provide the Diamante wallet as a service to our studio partners, and the same with Immutable, the same with Polygon, right? So you have all of these chains that are building protocols.
Was that Andy?
Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin. I mean, bit layer would indeed be
layer. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. We like those guys.
All right, we've been at this an hour, and we got we got 3 more questions left, and they're all in the TGE section. So let's jump through these real fast. TGE, what month in Q3 are you hoping to start TGE, Jorrit?
Well, we're hoping indeed for Q3, but it really depends. Let's say.
But they want to know what month in Q3.
Yeah, what month? Right. First of all, don't worry too much about it. We'll have the best interest for all of our holders in mind. We're the
Yeah.
biggest backholders, after all. So that's the first thing. So if it is delayed, then it's probably delayed for a very good reason. And the second bit is we want to go live with the main token. So the mainnet token, we've already minted it, by the way. We want to put it in distribution when the network settlement is also implemented on the mainnet. So the moment the mainnet settlement is there, that's the moment we'll be doing TG, because that guarantees also that there is a use for the token. And we've been there with a token that has no immediate use case, right? So then it becomes a security, and you get a lot of people buying it in at low prices just because they want to participate in the in the roller coaster of value, and that's entirely fine. But we'd like to have real buy-in and real buy pressure from our clients to be immediately possible at the launch of the TG. So it will tie in indeed with the main network launch.
Very good. Have there been any OTC YOM tokens or YOM node sales?
Yeah, that's me. Yes, definitely, and we've also reported on them. So I would say we have done a very few tiny ones, and I would say 95% of the OTC has been done with Outlier Ventures and with Borderless Capital, and that's also described in one of our Medium articles.
Yeah. And then the last question, well, a couple questions have been coming up. And if you have a question still, go ahead and drop it into the chats. But one question came up from the chats that we haven't been able to answer directly in the chats is that the announcement of the bridge, did we announce our bridge often enough? It seems like in the announcement channel, it was less so in the community channel. The bridge was open 90 days, but there are some people still who have not been paying attention to the project, and then they're coming back now after the bridge has been closed, and they're wondering, what do we do?
Yeah. So I'd like to. So first of all, I feel really sorry for the people who haven't managed to bridge. So that is definitely, we're going to internally discuss how we're going to handle that. We do also at the same time want to be strict and clear, right? We have communicated the bridge. Also before the bridge started, I think a few months before we opened the bridge, it was already communicated we're going to do it. So it's already, the information is out there. Even at the beginning of 2024, we talked about, okay, how are we going? What's the future of the token, right? And then we decided, okay, for now we're going to proceed with the token as is, but we're going to explore, okay, what is indeed the best exchanges? Is the current token in the current market the right one of that, right? So we managed to acquire all of the answers. And then that was half a year ago, we decided, okay, we're going to bridge. We reported on that. It's indeed mentioned in 6 times in announcements. It's daily mentioned on every channel by the mods, reminding people. And the people who haven't bridged, it really sucks. I can really feel the feeling of just missing out and just coming in a day after the bridge closed, and then getting to indeed see, okay, wait, the token is currently worthless. It is also true. So if you look at the process, if you look at your portfolio, there have been multiple stages to it. So it's about, okay, we're going to do the bridge. Then a couple of months later, we actually did the bridge. Then we gradually reduced liquidity. We started to delist on CoinMarketCap. We started to delist on CoinGecko. The token was also removed from your wallet. So there were a lot of also moments of signaling, I would say, towards the community. Anyways, people who have held on and have not monitored their portfolio, and now just after the closing of the bridge and come forwards, that is indeed, I recognize that that's indeed a problem. So we have to look into how we are going to fix that. At the same time, we cannot make exceptions. We cannot say, okay, we will make an exception for you. It has to be consistent and the same and public for everybody else. So if we decide, okay, we're going to reopen a bridge, or we figure out some solution for these people, then we have to do that on equal terms with anybody who has been with us and investing in the project. And then still what can happen, even if we reopen the bridge on a single day, then still after the closing of the reopening, then people may come in and say, hey, I forgot bridging on that day. And then you keep on delaying and extending your boundaries. So
and
it's
again,
all
each
about,
time you do that, the people who have been loyal and been following along and have been part of the community and assisting the community, they get penalized each time that we do that. And we don't really want to do that to the people who've been the most loyal and the most, supportive.
So that has been our internal conversation, and we're going to look for a way, but it's going to be painful for those who did not bridge. It needs to be, because we have been clear about it, but we are going to look into it for a solution for the people who really badly want to get rid of their tokens.
Right. Anybody else want to add to that? All right. Well, we came to the end of the questions. We went over by about 12 minutes past an hour, which is, I think, perhaps a record. Might have been.
Yeah.
But it felt good. It felt good. I like the idea of doing this maybe once a quarter, where we come in and directly kind of respond to the community questions. Again, encourage everyone to follow along. Twitter is a great place to find us. If you're not part of our Discord, that's the place that community-wise is most active. The Telegram group is fairly active as well, but we are using Discord more and more because that's where we're doing our testing groups and those kinds of announcements happen in both places, but Discord's very active. And then we like to add people to our YouTube channel and following us on LinkedIn, because again, a lot of the gaming studios are not necessarily using Telegram, but there are a lot of activity inside of LinkedIn for gaming studios. So you'll see us more active there. All right, everybody. Next week we have another guest all lined up. We're going to talk about gaming in general and Web3 games in particular, but all kinds of things about the next gaming cycle. Anybody last words? I'm going to say goodbye. All right, let's just say
thank
goodbye.
you for all the support to the community.
Thanks, everybody, for paying attention. We'll see you again next week.
And especially to all of those who bought an OG node. So I think that was a wise choice. It's the best possible discount that you can get. In the market. It's also the very first one, so it's a collector's item. So
not financial advice.
Right.
Well, it's our product. So.
Yeah.